Teresa, do you want to share with us how and what you did for science in high school?
Well, I love history and I love science, but I have children who don't love science nearly as much as I do. But I really have a lot. We could all agreed on how to do history that was all the same, but science was all over the board. So I have a quite musical, artsy daughter who had no interest in biology. She crossed her arms and said, "I'm not doing biology." Okay, so we just didn't. So, but if you look at the transcript, you need 2 or 3 sciences. We just went off the board. So she was interested in astronomy. That came from an interest of reading the book called Swallows and Amazons, was just something, so that history that it opened up, literature that just opened up a love. And so we did a book called Signs and Seasons. Fabulous book, and it's got experiments, so it counted as a lab. I have another time we used botany because I had one who was willing to do biology, but I'm not doing the dissections. So we spent a lot of time on microscope instead. Didn't really use the Apologia. Well, used it once, and it was for my really very sciencey kid, and it killed a real love for nature in him. It came back a little bit, but it's very academic. So if you have someone who, like, say, wants to be a doctor, great. So we, for biology, used Apologia, but also used Jeannie Fulbright's junior high school level. I had a daughter, I expected to do everything in that series, and I counted that for her 9th grade biology. Then for chemistry, I used Apologia for one, and another was Friendly Chemistry, and we bought a chemistry set at Hobby Lobby. Have done botany. I can't even remember. It was an old unit study that I had, and astronomy and physics. My one son did physics as a college student. Took it with a really brainy friend of his, and they took it as a pre-college class. It's just all over the board. I'm sure I'm missing something, but just follow the interest of your kids, because there's something out there.
Thanks. Jill, how about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of like Teresa. We were all over the board, and unfortunately for my children, I was not a science lover, so that kind of carried over maybe into them, but there's always good helps out there, and so I used them. We did enjoy Apologia, and so we did use that some. I think for my older kids, maybe it wasn't around yet, so we used Abeka. And then, but for the labs, hands-on things are always a good thing to have your kids learn something. And we really enjoyed Landry Academy's lab intensives, and that was for biology and chemistry for our 2 youngest kids. And they loved those. And that was it was 2 days, and you did all of the labs for an entire year's worth of biology or chemistry. And actually some of those labs were even college level. And so that was a lot of fun. And yeah, we did some astronomy, some botany, just like Teresa said, just kind of all over the board, depending on the likes and interests of my kids. So.
Great, thanks. Anne, what did you guys use?
I'm a science lover. My dad was a high school science teacher. And so we used Apologia. And I found it to be really good for my sciencey kids and my non-sciencey kids because it's written in a conversational style. Now, my non-sciencey kids, I will say we moved through it probably a little slower, added a lot more hands-on stuff to it. It took some detours here and there to do some other things, but it was a good, solid base. I have a daughter that has a 4-year degree. It's called an MLS, medical lab person. She works in a lab at a hospital, and that's what she had done. We went through Apologia. We got through chemistry with Apologia, and then she started taking chemistry at the college here in town while she was still in high school before she went on to school. So it was a good, solid base for her for what she needed. My my other one, my son that was into electronics and is an electrician now, we went through the general science and the physical science with him. And then after that, he kind of jumped in with his sister on the dissection stuff. We had a deer that was hit, and we brought parts of it home and did some dissection stuff with that and some science with that. But then a lot of his upper stuff had to do with upper high school was around electronics. My husband has an electronics degree, and so he would do stuff with him. We got a science in a nutshell kit that was on electronics, and we just did lots of little things like that. I have a Lego kit that's on simple machines, and you build the simple machine like a lever, and then you're supposed to solve a problem that they give you, and you have to design something for each one of the simple machines. And it's like a, I don't know, 8-week program or something like that. That was fabulous to help build on that science. So we did a lot of hands-on for the ones that were more non-sciencey and weren't headed towards that in college. My kids are also all certified lifeguards. That's health, that's a science. We counted their lifeguarding training. They taught swim lessons. There was a piece of their teaching that I counted as science because it was child development, which is health. When they're working as a lifeguard, there's a piece of that. So I don't count all of it, but I do give them a little bits of credit for some of the things that they're doing. One of my daughters took the babysitting class. That I counted as health, which is, again, that's science.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought outside of the box quite a bit for some of the extra stuff that helped make science fun for my non-sciencey ones.
Thank you, Anne. I'll just share real briefly what curriculum caught me by surprise when I was looking for high school science, and that was the Abeka biology textbook. It is very well written, and we were used to well-written literature by then. And it is written very much like a living book, and the illustrations and photos and everything are really wonderful. So we co-opted with 2 other families for the lab part of it, and since I was a nurse, I taught that, and that was fun for them socially as well as academically to get together and do that. The one reason I chose it of all of the others is because it includes the human body, and for me as a nurse that was important, and I also felt like it was the most practical of the topics for them as future parents and understanding their own body and its workings and stuff. So I really like that, and probably at that time I would have been surprised even myself that I was recommending a textbook, but there you go. For chemistry, my daughter used Friendly Chemistry, which had just come out. She's a creative, right-brained, artistic, musical person, and so it was a good fit for her. And with my son, we used Apologia Chemistry, and he's also very creative, but the logic and the math part of him meshed really well with Apologia Chemistry. So today you've seen, every child isn't the same, and even within a family, you'll find ways to switch it up and make it things work for them and their learning style. I think we're ready to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us for this. This is just the tip of the iceberg of things that we could share with you, but it's been fun to have this time with you. We thank you for joining us. And again, you can find us on the Homeschool Iowa website, and if you have questions, we'd be glad to help talk you through issues and answer questions if you have them.